Hey guys, how you going? Hope you're all doing very well. This evening I'm going to be doing another movie review, so hopefully you find this one interesting. This movie is a thriller from Scotland, English language, released in the year 2018, directed by Matt Palmer, and this film is called Calibre. So Calibre is about two friends. They were very good friends, but they haven't seen each other in a while. So one of the friends is actually expecting a child with the love of his life, and so before the child is born, he wants to actually take the opportunity to let his hair down and actually reunite with this guy because he's not going to get a chance to in the near future. And so this other friend decides to go on a hunting trip. Now, this main character is not an avid hunter. He's hardly ever shot a gun, but he just wants to take the time to do something with this guy. So they go to this very rural community and they do the hunt, and unfortunately during one evening there is tragedy that strikes that forces these friends to come to terms with what they've done. And so not only do they have to try and come to terms with themselves, but they also have to try and hide the tragedy from the local community, who were very aggressive. And so they believe that if the community realises what's happened, they're going to get violent and their lives are going to be in danger. So the friends have to try and get out of this community without it looking suspicious if they are to maintain not only the sort of self-preservation, but also the friendship that they have. So whether or not they can is something you're going to have to find out for yourself, because that's as far as I'm going with my synopsis. Now, my thoughts on Calibre. I didn't know what to expect with this film, but I come away from it absolutely gobsmacked by how much I liked it. I thought this was an absolutely brilliant film, and it's a brilliant exercise in slow burn tension. This is a movie that has an invisible net that captures you and it doesn't let you go from first minute to last minute. Now, whether it's through the cinematography or the very haunting soundtrack, you know this is a movie that's not going to end well. In fact, it reminded me of Eden Lake, which was a devastating film from Britain once again, and that was a movie that just pulled no punches. It didn't have any apologies, it wasn't sugarcoating things, and that's the best thing about that movie, and it's ultimately what the best thing about Calibre. This is a movie about friendship. This is a movie about friendship being put under the ultimate test, and I thought that the chemistry with everything that this movie had was superb, absolutely second to none. This movie had me on a knife edge from start to finish. It maintains the intensity to a level where I thought as though I was suffocating. This is a movie that pays attention to the minor details, and those minor details snowball into something so big, and it creeps up on you before you even realise. And so this is something of Alfred Hitchcock, this is something of Roman Polanski, and on top of that you do have characters that are very three-dimensional, that are very likeable, and all these likeable characters, they're very realistic. This is a very realistic thriller, is because they're all likeable. Even the so-called bad guys in this film are likeable, but the circumstances have evolved these characters from something that you see at the start to something far more terrifying as the movie progresses. And so the circumstances are basically dictating how these people are acting, and this is the ultimate beauty of this film, is that it just maintains that level of curiosity, is that you don't know what's around the corner for these friends, and you go along on the ride, but you're never quite sure where this ride is going to take you, but you know that it's going to be very dreaded. And so the movie, it is a very tragic sort of feel that this film has. There is something that's horrible that happened on this hunting trip, and you feel so sorry for these friends, is because, okay, they've done something, and now they're trying to have self-preservation, and the self-preservation is having a domino effect. It basically digging themselves a bigger hole, and so they're trying to do something, and their actions to a certain event actually makes it even worse, and it gets worse and worse and worse, and you just feel as though the whole atmosphere is a pressure cooker. It's just got that intensity that just engulfs you to a point where I just thought as though the time was going so fast, and that I was wondering what was going to happen. As I said, I was on the edge of my seat for the majority of this film. The sustainability of this movie as far as suspense is concerned was the best I've seen in a very, very long time. On top of that, you've got fantastic acting. Now, the actor from The Survivalist, which is a movie I reviewed quite a long time ago, very good up-and-coming sort of British actor. He plays the main character of this film, or one of the friends, and the other friend, I thought the chemistry between these two main characters was absolutely superb. I could believe that they were real friends. And the movie does show you how a friendship will be and how tested a friendship can be under such extreme situations, so extreme circumstances. So I thought that this friendship was going to break at any minute, and that one of them was actually going to blab his mouth and tell what's actually happened. And so not only do you have suspense and a thriller aspect, but you have suspense in the mentalities of these characters. And I thought it was absolutely fascinating, is that if a movie of a thriller sense, if you don't have likable characters, it can be still be thrilling based on the situational sort of aspect, but when you have characters that you can also root for and actually really get into, it gives you that added impact, and that impact is just so devastating. And I just thought that it was an indication of how good this director actually is. And so you've got fantastic performances not only from the main cast, but you've also got the local community. Tony Curran is one of the actors in this film that is a brilliant Scottish actor. He actually plays this guy who you would deem as a villain in some aspects, but I thought that, as I said, there are no villains in this movie. Basically the circumstances are shaping everybody, and that's what gives it their sense of tragedy, is that even the best people can be turned into something else based on what's actually happened. And I could understand why these friends were actually choosing to try and hide this tragedy, but as I said, when they try and do that, it just gets worse and worse, and the situation gets more and more suspenseful. So the cinematography was absolutely brilliant, very beautiful, very vast, and it also shows you the hardships of local communities, or the rural communities, and basically the economy of these communities and how they can band together. And so I thought that in a traditional sort of thriller film, you get these hillbilly type rural people who are just nothing but savages, but in this film they're very real people, and that they're a close-knit community, and they're trying their best to actually make their community last. And so I could actually develop a connection with these people. And so because you can develop a connection with everybody, you've got no safety barrier, you've got no safety net where you can say, I support these guys and we're against these guys. Basically, it's everybody for himself, and it's just good people being thrust into an absolutely horrifying situation. And I thought that situation was handled brilliantly, and it just makes it a film that I was absolutely surprised by what I got. I thought that the soundtrack was extremely haunting, and the whole film just has a cruelty to it. The whole film is absolutely harrowing, and it's capped off by an absolutely brilliant and harrowing ending. And so be very careful. This is a movie that will upset a lot of people because of just the downbeat, depressing tone that the film maintains, and so I thought that was very good. I thought that if there's only one problem to this film, it's a very minuscule problem. For me, it wasn't a problem because I thought the slow burn nature of the film actually creates that sense of anticipation, creates that platform for which the film actually jumps off and takes advantage of. But for people looking for a traditional thriller, you might not get much out of this movie, is because it is very, very slow. It's very realistic. As I said, the movie doesn't take teams. It doesn't take sides. It's not saying this is the bad guy, this is the good guy. As I said, it's just a situation that's absolutely devastating, but a few people might not like that. And so it is for an acquired sort of taste. If you're a fan of, as I said, Alfred Hitchcock, Roman Polanski, or fine attention to detail as far as build-up is concerned, then you're going to like Caliber. And I thought this was an absolutely brilliant film, and it's a movie that I can't basically recommend enough. And so overall, for Caliber, it was one of the best suspenseful films I've seen in a very long time, and as a result of that, I'm going to give this movie 4.5 stars. Alright guys, that's it for my review. Hope you enjoyed it. Till next time, keep watching movies, and I'll see you later.